1987 Ford Fiesta Mark II.
We're in a different country, but screw it, let's do Ford.
1987. This was the year America was spammed with that "This is your brain on drugs" commercial. You know, the one with the eggs? And Japan went on its first Final Fantasy. The United Kingdom elected Margaret Thatcher for a third time. And Pennsylvania State Treasurer Bud Dwyer shot himself on live TV, scarring the minds of millions of teenagers who would watch it on the internet 20 years later with no idea what they were in for. And Ford whipped out his balls, dropped them on the table, and named them Ford Fiesta and Mark II. This Fiesta runs on the Ford Kent engine, which was Ford Europe's internal combustion engine developed from the Ford Anglia all the way back in 1959. That ran until the fifth generation Fiesta replaced it with the Duratec E engine in 2002. The Kent name originates here in the UK from Kent County, where Ford had a plant, and it came in three different varieties: the pre-crossflow Kent, the standard crossflow, and the Traverse-mounted Valencia option. Of these three engine variants, the Mark II Fiesta offered only the Valencia. It's transverse, it's front-wheel drive. This is the 1100cc option, or 1.1 liters, with a 4-speed manual transmission and front-wheel drive. Modifications include, I guess this is a modification, it has a Can-Am air filter just screwed onto the top of the carburetor. It's got a tailgate and fog lamps from the Mark I, a set of XR2 wheels, and an aftermarket radio to replace the ancient push-button radio of the original. Because the radio is the only way to keep up to date on what you hate in the digital era. I've got a brand new pair of roller skates, you got a brand new key. This is my falsetto voice. So story time. Ben's dad bought this car for Ben 10 years ago as a car for him to cut his teeth on, and he heard a lot about mechanics on this car since then as a matter of necessity. Even now, there are loads of issues with the Fiesta, the window jams partway down, and you can't put the heater on past 2 because it'll start to melt the fuse box. There's also no ECU, I don't think. I mean, it may have some sort of circuit board controlling something, but it's all relays and vacuum lines calling the shots in there. But like a haircut that's only perfect for a day before you have to go back to Joey Five Barbers on Pike Street, the Fiesta decides to run beautifully whenever Ben considers selling it. And when you take road trips with friends or travel to Scotland or even commute to work in this car like Ben has, it's kind of understandable why it would be hard to part with it, even in spite of its imperfections. From my American perspective, this feels like a Volkswagen Golf from the same era. Remember, the United States didn't get the Ford Fiesta until the 6th generation, debuting in 2009. That was when us Yanks got the Fiesta for the first time. So my tactile memory and olfactory sense says that this is a 1980s Golf, not Ford. Oh, how 80s. He even has a club. The shift throw is long and American. The engine is carbureted, like an American car from the 80s. But the bonnet tilts forward. The only American car that does that patriotically is the Corvette. Why does the exhaust header have webbing? Why is there so much steering input for such a small car? Oh, right, yep, no power steering. The ratio has to be generous. No AC, no armrests, 4 forward gears, and all of them are long. 2 doors, thin seats, no bolstering, which means you're wobbling around and wondering how well this seatbelt is going to keep you in place in the event of a crash. And man, these doors are thin. I know it's a small car, but a Volkswagen Golf feels dense and secure. This, I'm wondering how far the other car will force itself into this cabin in a T-bone accident. Remember the Stagia from last week? That thing was secure. This Mark II Fiesta, this feels like a step above a 2CV. No tachometer, and no rev limiter. And you have 1 less forward gear than you're used to. Which means you have to hang in those gears longer and higher just to merge onto the motorway. Ben says, it'll do 70, but it's screaming away when it does it. But I'm having more fun in this than I was in the Alfa Romeo Mito. Because the Alfa Romeo Mito promises you a sorority girl parade and they all have their pants down. But what you get is Beatrice Santello exhaling menthol smoke in your face. But a Mark II Fiesta promises you nothing but an empty lot, and what you get is a knife fight with Gregory Lee atop a fallen tree. And who do you really want to hang out with? It's tossable, it's dangerous, it's unpredictable, this car is bipolar. It's fun, but it is austerity. Yeah, isn't it? Austerity on the inside. UK in the Thatcher years. I don't know what that was like, but I guess it's kind of like being in here. I would have loved to experience that. When a Perfecto motorcycle jacket meant something dangerous. When friendships were formed through adversity. And long train rides just to go to a music store. And knocking on your friend's house. Because no one had cell phones. And making do with the friends that you have. Friends by proximity. But the best parts of your friends are their flaws. Like most of the cars we've done in the UK so far this season. And while something like the Rover 75 carries a classier, musky old mystique, the Fiesta puts forth an image of simplicity, earned simplicity. It's got a straightforward appeal, even down to the engineering level, since it's easy for Ben to fix this, and he doesn't have any trouble finding serviceable parts for it. Although trim pieces can be more difficult. Regardless, I don't think it's a bad thing to have a car this simple. Heck, I love the Honda Civic EH2. Any car that's simple and you can keep working is worth the effort. But then the question is whether or not it's worth it from a cost-benefit standpoint. You're basically roaring around town in a car as engine as loud as Uncle William loaded up on Stella and Catholicism. And when you need people to get the hell out of your way on the M6, well, your horn squawks at them like Gilbert Gottfried getting a Prince Albert or Truman Capote after 3 espressos. For as much character as the Ford Fiesta Mark II might have, it runs the risk of annoying that certain class of people who just want these sorts of cars off the road. The type of people who view anything pre-1995 with suspicious awe. The expectation that their children, or their children's children, won't know safety until these types of things are developing rust in a scrap heap in the middle of Scotland. So it really does require that the person owning a Mark II Fiesta really cares about it. Because it's too easy to let a car like this fall quickly into disrepair. And once that happens, it can be a long walk to restoration. And there's that cost-benefit analysis again. These type of late 80s cars, I notice, are very similar to stuff like Ford Fairmonts here in the US. They're cool, they're hip, they're old, you know someone who owned one, but do you want to sink money into making this a daily? Because you have to go all in. Because these cars aren't perfect. The Ford Fiesta is a gigantic middle finger to the father who is cheap with hugs, but rich with discouragement. The Ford Fiesta is the yes I can and yes I will in a sea of you will nevers. Stick with a car. Put in the work. And she may give you more than anyone ever expected.
Fiesta is a party, but Fiesta's not a party. Add a little color and this car would look like Artie, the strongest man in the world. Yeah, sorry, that's all I got.